Wow, Michael won. And here's an article about him. Michael Ray, how a Hell's Kitchen winner ended up on the streets. Ramsay made Michael an offer to work alongside him in London. After some nervous deliberation, a shell-shocked Michael agreed. The room erupted in cheers.
Would like to invite you, work alongside me to become a top world-class chef.
Yes.
Yes. Well,
But Michael would later change his mind. It was the hardest decision I've ever had to make. I regret it all the time, he tells the BBC. I was in Hell's Kitchen with a drug problem. I was deathly afraid of going to London with this giant addiction. Oh, that's totally fair. Yeah, totally fair. Growing up in rural Colorado, Michael was interested in cooking from an early age. He dropped out of high school and went to work in a kitchen. It was during this period he became fully aware of a chef with a fearsome temper called Gordon Ramsay, who was building a name as one of the world's best chefs. He had this reputation out there of being this badass chef that no one wants to mess with, Michael recalls. I tried for like a year to work with him for free, but no one could get in there. It was really exclusive. When he heard about auditions for Hell's Kitchen through his in-laws who worked in the industry, Michael decided this would be his best shot at getting close to Ramsay. This is all planned? He applied and went through a rigorous process of interviews and tests. Eventually, he was told he made the final 12. Michael saw the show as a chance to show off his talent and draw on Ramsay's expertise, but as soon as the camera started rolling, Michael realized it was going to be tougher than he thought. He learned that Hell's Kitchen would be open to the public, and one contestant would be eliminated after each service. Cameras would be rolling 24/7, even when they slept. I went into this thinking I was going to learn all this great chef stuff from Gordon Ramsay, and then I ended up realizing I needed to do everything I could to stay on the show to win. I didn't want to be on national TV and lose. But Michael had little to worry about. Despite Ramsay telling him he had a palate like a cow's backside in the first episode, Michael soon emerged as a frontrunner. While contestants regularly received the famous wrath of Ramsay's tongue, Michael generally dodged verbal attacks. Despite Ramsay's fearsome persona in the kitchen, Michael says he was the polar opposite outside of it, and even when Ramsay would let rip, he recognized it was for good reason. But Ramsay's offer of working alongside him in London immediately made Michael face up to a problem he had been brewing for some time. A couple of years before he appeared on Hell's Kitchen, Michael had back surgery for scoliosis and was prescribed powerful opioid painkillers for his recovery. He was soon hooked. During filming, he handed his prescribed pills to producers while also smuggling his own into the house. Even then, he still needed to request more from his doctor. It was already taking half of my mental energy to keep my addiction in check just so I could work and live a normal life, he says. Michael was flown out to London for 5 days and got a taste of what could lie ahead of him, but in the end, fears of not having access to his drugs eventually made him turn down the offer. Gordon wanted me to move out there. He probably got a little miffed that I didn't go out to London, he says. He's offering this young chef to move to London to mentor, to show how this is all done, and I had to turn him down. Ramsay's representatives did not respond to a request for comment. Despite turning down the chance to work with one of the best chefs, Michael still had a lot going for him in the US. All right. He was preparing to open his own restaurant in Los Angeles. He had money in the bank and was expecting his first child with his wife Lola. Then tragedy struck. Within a few weeks of opening the restaurant, my daughter passed away, Michael says. We had some complications at birth where she lost her breath for 7 or 8 minutes. She lost too much oxygen to her brain and died. Michael could no longer prevent his addiction taking hold of his life. It put me in a tailspin for the next couple of years, he says. It was all starting to crumble around me. Michael managed to carry on at the restaurant for around 6 weeks after his daughter passed away before walking away. His relationship soon broke down and he started living out of his truck. Michael would still find work in kitchens, mainly so he could fund his spiraling drug habit. Before long, Michael was living beneath an underpass near Hollywood Boulevard. I was a complete loner, he says. I would listen to my radio at night and go to sleep. It was almost like there was nothing really happening in my life. It was just like existing, he adds. I was sticking a needle in my arm. I didn't want anyone to see that. Although Michael was on the streets and in the full-blown thralls of addiction, he would still find ways to cook. At one point, he was leading classes at the high-end Sur La Table restaurant by day, then retiring to the underpass to take drugs and sleep at night. I was living this dual life where you had this persona of Chef Michael from Hell's Kitchen is going to teach you guys to cut onions today, but then at the same time, I had this raging drug addiction that I'm trying to hide from the world, he says. With all his money going on drugs, Michael was forced to visit homeless shelters for meals, but would usually end up rustling up dishes in the kitchen for the rest of the shelter. That's really nice. That's crazy he could manage to do that. Takes a strong character. After years of Michael getting highly addictive painkillers on prescription, his doctor in New Mexico, where he had relocated, eventually refused to give him any more. With the withdrawals kicking in, he started to panic. He tried to check himself into rehab, but was told his withdrawals were too severe, so he would need to go to the hospital. By this point, Michael knew he had to get drugs inside his system. It was then he remembered that his pharmacy was the only one in the state that keeps all their medication on the shelves at night. He broke in with an axe, stole the drugs, and drove out to the middle of the desert. Michael had intended to use his time in the desert as an opportunity to slowly wean himself off the drugs, but things went from bad to worse. What ended up happening was I went almost 30 days without eating any food. I had almost no water, he says. I was literally just lying in this adobe hut, watching, this is fucking bonkers. I was literally lying in this adobe hut, watching the sun come up, go across the sky, fall down. Watch the moon come up, go across the sky. There were 2 baby rattlesnakes living with me in there for the first 2 or 3 days. After about a month, Michael started hallucinating, believing that ghosts were trapped inside of him. He then attempted to take his life, but was found by a passing driver as he drifted in and out of consciousness while crawling by the side of the road. I didn't want to die, and I needed to get somewhere where someone could see me and help me, he says. Michael woke up in a hospital 48 hours later and decided it was time to get clean. After 10 days recovering in hospital, he entered rehab in June 2012. Unsurprisingly, cooking played a part in his recovery. All my days were spent cooking 3 meals a day for 7 or 8 people, dealing with drug addiction. It was a really fulfilling time in my life, he says. It was in rehab that Michael met his wife, Charlene. I had a smile on my face for the first 2 or 3 years. I couldn't believe how good life is, he says. When Michael left rehab, he landed himself into the police for the pharmacy raid. That sucks. He ended up serving close to a month in jail where he was allowed to help out in the kitchen. I felt I had to answer for my crime and make it right, he says. Once out, he knew it was time to get back to what he loved. But he felt he needed to earn the right to call himself a chef again. He started by taking some shifts at a local breakfast cafe. I spent the next 3 to 4 years just getting back to the ability where I could call myself a chef, he says. I started the whole process again. In recent years, Michael has worked as the head chef at numerous restaurants and has also been consulting with other chefs to help with their menus. His dreams of one day owning his own food van, to me, as a chef, it seems like the ultimate expression of our art, to be able to go anywhere and cook anything, he says. Michael also visited the Philippines where he has some pop-up events lined up for later this year. He says he hopes later this year that he hopes will not be derailed by the coronavirus pandemic. He is looking into starting a restaurant there. He's reached out to Hell's Kitchen a few times, but never got a response. I think that because the way my life went right after Hell's Kitchen, I think they're more interested in having success stories, he says. But after the journey he's been on, Michael is happy to be alive and cooking again. Holy shit, dude. Drake's in the chat for Spidey Mike. That's insane. He won Hell's Kitchen. He went to jail. He survived the desert without food and water. He went to rehab, and he is now a chef again. Shout out to Spidey Mike. My God. Check the where are they nows of everyone. Is there anyone else good? Chef Ralph Pagano. Oh, here's Ralph. Ralph's story. Thank you. Before a kitchen explosion in the Bahamas sent him to the hospital with life-threatening injuries? What? Chef Ralph Pagano seemed to be everywhere. The hotshot owner of a clubby Mexican restaurant on South Beach called Naked Taco, Pagano schmoozed with diners and his wife, Buffy, as his wife Buffy describes it, liked to throw tequila down people's throats late at night. That's weird. That's weird. While saving a Kettle One rocks for himself. Pagano preferred the glitz of TV food competitions to the neon glare of Lincoln Road. He won runner-up on Season 1 of Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. He crossed knives with Chef Bobby Flay on an episode of Iron Chef and lost. He hosted the Travel Channel's reality cooking show, Pressure Cook, and loaned his culinary chops to student chefs on Lifetime's All Mixed Up. Damn, this guy got famous, huh? As publications branded Pagano a celebrity chef, his Yes Hospitality group went deep into expansion mode. I like to say Ralph was getting ready to blow up right before he actually did blow up. Says Paul Castronovo, Pagano's friend and Big 105.9 radio morning show host. Did he die? Life-threatening injuries, because that's not a joke you can make if he died, man. I'm the exact opposite guy. Well, I still like tequila. I've taken this explosion as a rejuvenation of my life. I'm in the best shape I've been in 10 years. I don't smoke. I don't stay out late anymore. I'm 2-3 weeks vegan, and I'm not trying to become a millennial or anything. I'm just trying to stay alive. So true, Chuck. Pagano smelled the propane first, then a hissing sound, like a punctured tire. Standing nearby, bartender Kelly Campbell tossed a sugar and water in a pan to prepare cocktail syrups for a VIP party that weekend. The gas burner hummed inches from her face. Seconds later, at 3:30 p.m., the gas line exploded in the Naked Taco kitchen. It wasn't a hero move, Pagano says now, but instinctive. He grabbed Campbell's arm, jerked her out of the way. The explosion rocketed Pagano back 20 feet. Holy shit. For me, it wasn't my life that flashed before my eyes. It was only that day, Pagano says. When I was flying through the air, all I thought about was how I'd kissed my kids good morning, getting delayed 2 hours at Miami Airport, and seeing Marlins Park from the plane going to Bimini. And I thought, this is El Fine? What a shitty and unceremonious way to die. I'm going to die on Bimini at the restaurant I'm trying to open? Minutes after the explosion at 3:36 p.m., he noted the time on a wall clock. Pagano somehow leapt to his feet as the kitchen's smoke suppression system snuffed the remaining fires. Fueled on pure adrenaline, he swaggered from the kitchen to the swimming pool outside his eatery at Resorts World. Pagano felt his whole body convulsed to shock. Blackened skin dangled from his swelling face. Blood and blistered skin sagged from his forearms and shins. He learned later at Jackson Memorial Hospital that second and third degree burns coated 40% of his body. This is the funny part, Pagano says, now recalling the afternoon. He stretches out his arms, Frankenstein's monster style. I saw this kid in the swimming pool, and I was like that scene in Frankenstein where he walks out going, "Urgh." The kid sees me and starts screaming, and I'm screaming back at him, but I needed to cool off somewhere, but I didn't jump in the pool and found a shower nearby. That's actually so funny. Moments later, still dazed, he found Campbell, who seemed unharmed. Hey, I'm fireproof, he told her. He asked Campbell to grab a case of almond milk and asked someone to call his wife Buffy. What? Pagano knew from visiting the Bahamas with his family that the island of Bimini had a clinic but no hospital, much less a burn unit. In a golf cart driving to the boat, Pagano told Campbell to pour almond milk on his body to get my temperature back up. And she did. A nurse at the clinic gave him morphine and Silverdine, a burn cream, and rode with him to the jet. He arrived at Jackson Memorial Hospital an hour later. I had gauze and bandages all over and looked like one of those Civil War battlefield guys, he said. I don't know how he did it, honestly, Castronovo says. How he had the presence of mind to push Kelly out of the way and then knew what to put on his burns. If he hadn't done that, he wouldn't be alive today. If I showed you the pictures of the moneymaker right after, you wouldn't even believe it, Pagano says of his face. Bandages covered one eye, but Pagano seemed downright buoyant as soon as he arrived at Jackson Memorial's intensive care unit. He was super drugged up, but he was jovial, Buffy recalls. He was like, okay, I'm alive. I don't think I have any lips anymore, and I can't see out of this eye, but I'm good. That's his personality. His lips looked really bad, and his skin got blacker and fell off his face. But he was the old Ralph. He wanted to go back to work. Damn. It's crazy that Michael won and then had a shitty decade. Ralph lost and seemed to have done pretty well besides the whole explosion thing. You know what I mean? That was cool. From Hell's Kitchen to my own tiny southern kitchen, good things are coming soon. This is Dewberry? Is this real? Is this Do the Do himself? Cooking is what I'm doing these days. What y'all doing? Hey y'all, please check out my YouTube channel, Dewberry's Kitchen. Pog you? Where's Dewberry? Where's his YouTube? That's Dewberry? He looks so different. Damn, he lost so much weight. Dewberry. I've spent my entire life loving and dreaming about food. He's gone. Oh, this is him. Flying Biscuit, Chandler Park.
Hey y'all, it's Dewberry at the Flying Biscuit Chandler Park. Let's make something. Join me every week for a new recipe. What we're going to do today is we're going to start and we're going to make our famous cranberry apple butter. It's best to have honest and true ingredients and nothing
I feel like he's
artificial.
really good at this. I feel like he could be a YouTuber. He's not stuttering. He's not rushing. He's not dragging.
So
Am I crazy? This is really good for 5,000 views.
And here we go, youngins. Let's make apple butter. Right,
I like when he calls me a youngin.
And it's time to have a drink at that point.
Oh,
Or
so
three.
true. Oh, or 3. You naughty boy. That looks like dog shit.
All right, here we are.
He's just gonna
Some
put this on a
lovely
biscuit?
Flying biscuits. Just gonna take one and we're gonna pull it open.
He looked over like he wasn't supposed to be using the kitchen. Dewberry, we told you not to use this kitchen for your YouTube. Look at him.
Just gonna take one
Oh shit, I'm busted.
and we're gonna pull it open, or a fruit butter. So there we go, a flying biscuit with apple butter. It's also good on English muffins or bagels or toast.
Is that good, Dubes?
This would even be good with a glass of white wine.
What do we got here?
Make the most amazing.
Oh, is this recent? Oh, this is recent. This is an hour-long video chat, you psychopaths. Let's just see the eating. Wait, it just ends with him at the grocery store? There's the food. That looks great. That looks amazing. Yeah, I would love to see the adventures of Mike and Dubes. You know what I mean?
Now,
If Dewberry had a brother, they could be the Doobie Brothers, and then they could do food based on Doobie Brothers songs. Damn, that was an insane final. And that was an insane Where Are They Now? The Where Are They Now might be able to make its own YouTube video. That was crazy. It might be a 2-parter. Part 1 and then part 2, Where Are They Now? Things got crazy. I'll be right back. I'm going to run a quick ad. If you don't want to see a quick ad, consider subscribing.